Part 2 of the timeline of events leading up to our wildlife center getting raided. These are the texts from our wildlife officer saying that everything looked great.
So because he said that everything looked great, I believed that everything was great. I mean, I even have a text message exchange between my sponsor where she just had a bad feeling that they were going to make an example of us, and I have texted her back and I was like, but how? Like, we did everything they asked. How could they? I'm so naive. Anyway, so then comes 2 months later, July, and I knew when they got here it was a raid. And I knew that because of the amount of officers that were outside my door. And the first thing that our officer said when he walked into our house was, "This has nothing to do with the harassment from the other rehabbers." The very first thing he said when he was there. So they had called it, aside from coming to raid us for our wildlife patients, we're an exotic animal sanctuary. I have special needs cats, a dog I've had for years, and a bunch of exotics like sugar gliders, chinchillas, parrots, very intelligent macaw, African greys, animals that have been here for years and have bonded to us. So not only did they come to raid our wildlife facility, but they called animal control and reported us to animal control for animal cruelty against my exotic and domestic animals. So when they first came in, animal control wanted to do exams on all of the animals. And I just, they didn't come with a warrant. And I didn't ask for one. They didn't have one because, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. So it's like, why would I even ask for a warrant? Because people have been asking me, if they had a warrant, why didn't I ask if they had one? And I've always let officers in. That's just part of being licensed. You have to let them in. And so animal control came in, and we have animal control. People use animal control as a weapon. And so animal control has been here a lot because I tend to piss people off by being outspoken. And so then people will call animal control on me, and then animal control is out. One time we had animal control coming like every other day. And by the way, every single animal control inspection we have always passed. So we've always welcomed animal control in. So CPW came in, and they came in with animal control. And so we went downstairs, which is not a wildlife area. CPW does not have jurisdiction over domestics or exotics. So we went downstairs. There's no wildlife down there. You don't have to go through there to get to a wildlife area, but 4 CPW officers followed animal control down there during his investigation. And this is our house. We're run out of our house. We're a small home-based facility. So we were all, and I was with animal control. So me, animal control, and 4 officers, we're all crowded down there like sardines. He couldn't even move without touching the other officers. Why are they on him like that when they scheduled this investigation against us? Like, were they trying to impede it in a negative way? Yes, I believe so. Especially because when animal control, when they got there, I put my dog in his kennel, because I didn't want him running around with a bunch of officers. And when we went downstairs to look at the exotics, my dog's kennel was there. They could see him. It's not covered. There was nothing, it's a see-through kennel. It has wires, you can see in it. You could clearly see my dog. Well, after animal control was done looking at the animals in the basement, he did physical exams on them and everything. We came upstairs, and then Sarah Watson, the CPW officer, tells animal control to go look closer at my dog that you could clearly see in his kennel, clearly brushed, well taken care of. I have him on pet insurance. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that dog. But whatever. I was like, animal control, that's fine. We went back downstairs. He did an exam on my dog. He's fine. She then tried to get animal control to take my special needs cats, which would be euthanized if they went to a shelter. Thank goodness animal control did not take any of our domestics, exotics, my special needs, nothing. But that shows how much of a nasty person Sarah Watson is. Sarah Watson, don't get her confused with Sarah Heckathorn. Sarah Heckathorn is the rehabber harassing us. Sarah Watson is one of the officers that was here during the raid. Now, this is important because Sarah Watson, I believe, works very closely with Sarah Heckathorn. Sarah Watson is always doing a lot of wildlife transfers, specifically baby bobcats, to a local rehabber. Well, the only local rehabber who does bobcats is Sarah Heckathorn. So I believe that they have a personal relationship, are friends or whatever, and that Sarah Heckathorn's hate towards us rubbed off on Sarah Watson, because when she was here, she was so freaking angry. Before this interaction, I'd never been around Sarah Watson. She'd never been our officer before. She'd never been into our facility. She had so much anger towards us that it felt very personal, especially trying to get my domestic pets taken. And so when Animal Control finished, when he went to write his report, he went out in his truck, probably to get the heck away from all these officers who would not leave him alone. And then when he came back, the officers swarmed around him asking what he'd gotten us on. And then when they realized that he wasn't taking, and then when he told them that, they realized that we hadn't been cited on anything from Animal Control, then they all got very angry. I mean, the energy shift changed. When they found out Animal Control wasn't coming at us for anything, they all seemed very, very, very angry by that decision. Very angry that he was not taking any of our exotic pets. And, I mean, to me, I fully believe that they were not here for any kind of true benefit of wildlife or animals. I believe that they were here to personally hurt me and punish me because they're tired of me being outspoken, and that I would not give Sarah the foxes she demanded. Because the first thing they took was the foxes, and they left half the patients here, by the way. You would think a raid that they would take all of the wildlife patients, right? Because if it's a raid, I mean, it's bad enough to take everything, right? Nope, they left half the patients here. The squirrels, they left here. Pretty much almost all the squirrels they left here, which I just think is funny because none of the rehabbers who were harassing us ever wanted us to get licensed for medium mammals. And they had all created this club and joined together to make it so we could not get licensed or expand our license. And then our sponsor, Deborah, started licensing us for medium mammals, and this crashed their whole idea of us never expanding. And then when CPW left and they took our foxes and our porcupine and our raccoons, and I'm left here with the squirrels, all I could just think was they just did this specifically to say, this is what you get. This is what you get for doing more than squirrels, for doing what the other rehabbers didn't want me to do. I really believe that's why they did that. And so they left half the patients here, as they took half of them. Now, they took baby raccoons, baby foxes, baby porcupines, and a couple baby squirrels. Now, it's been months since they raided our facility. They will not tell us what they did with these animals. Now, a lot of people are saying that the animals are dead. Now, this is unlikely for most of them. Now, I want to say this because none of my wildlife patients were habituated. None of them bit or scratched any of the officers. None of them were handled without gloves. None of them were around species they weren't supposed to be. So there's no reason for them to euthanize for rabies testing or anything like that. Now, what I personally believe happened, I don't have any proof of this yet, but what I personally believe happened is I believe they took my foxes and my porcupine and they transferred them to Sarah, who wanted the foxes, and they gave my porcupine to a different rehab center. And then my baby raccoons, I believe, were collateral damage, and I believe they released them all when they were very, very, they were bottle babies, so it would be a very slow, horrible death. That's what I believe happened, is that they released the raccoons to their death. I think it's unlikely that any of them were euthanized, though I could see that as being a possibility. I just think it's unlikely. But the fact that it's been months, they won't tell us. Per CPW's own regulation, they are supposed to let our sponsor know about all of these issues, and they didn't.